Hi y'all, welcome back to this week's episode of AMA Friday with Amy Miller, Recruiting in Yoga Pants. Alrighty, so this week we're gonna tackle metrics. How are recruiters measured? So this may feel like an unusual topic for a job seeker. Maybe wondering why I'm bringing this to you if you are indeed looking for work or part of my beloved job seeking community. But I think it's important to understand how recruiters are measured because look, y'all know this as well as I do. You get more of what you measure. You cannot improve something that you are not measuring. You cannot make any decisions based on data that you are not collecting, right? And so I think we would agree that it is smart to have a target number and to understand how to get to said target. So think about, if you're trying to lose weight. Anybody else? Quarantine 15 or 20? As the case may be. That's me. If you're not paying attention and if you're not weighing yourself and if you're not tracking your caloric intake, things like that, you can't improve on that. Or your exercise, right? I can't tell you that I'm getting healthier and I went from 30 minutes on the treadmill to 60 minutes on the treadmill if I don't track it. So metrics are important. Metrics are important, I think, in every part of our lives. I have talked about, kind of job search strategy before, where I think job seekers also should track metrics. You should know, how many jobs did I apply to? How many interviews did I get out of those activities? How many offers did I get, after my interviews? And by understanding how those numbers add up, you can better understand, where do I need to make improvements? Where are things falling down? If you're applying to 10 roles a week and you're getting 8 callbacks, your resume is on point, right? It's like obviously working. If you're interviewing every other day and not getting a single offer, something's going awry in the interview process. So it's good to understand our metrics and to know how things measure up and what's working and what's not working. Same thing applies on the recruiting side. So we often hear people say things like recruiting is a numbers game. I hate that. Personally, I'll be very honest with you. I do not like that line of thinking, but I also understand where it comes from. And that's what I want to share with you today. So I actually went ahead and wrote this out ahead of time on my handy dandy whiteboard. There is a, shall we say, all recruiters are measured on the same thing, which is ultimately hires, okay? So filling open positions, don't worry about the rest of this. Filling open positions is the key. That is the most important metric every single recruiter on the planet is going to be accountable for. The only exception, not even really a full exception to the rule, but the only kind of caveat there is you will often find agency recruiters who are expected to bill a certain amount. So there's a dollar amount as opposed to a number of roles. It may be, you've got to go bill, $100,000 this year or $200,000 this year or whatever it is. It's probably a lot more than that these days. I feel like those are low numbers. So that can look differently if you're on the agency side, but at the end of the day, if a recruiter is not filling open positions, they are not doing their job. That is the number one metric. We talked about this last week, y'all. Recruiters, the job of a recruiter is to find people for jobs. That is this number. Job search is intensely personal. I think recruiting should also be intensely personal. We're going to get into that. So how does a recruiter know if they are doing a good job? Well, obviously it's going to be the number of hires. So I can tell you, in my world, I've been in big tech for a while now. On average, I was expected to bring on 2 to 4 people every month. That would vary depending on the complexity of the role, the specific team that I was recruiting for, the open positions I was responsible for. So some months it was 2, Some months it was 8, right? There were a lot of variables there, but there was usually a minimum target number that I had to fill. So if you are filling said number and you're maybe even adding a few more hires every month onto your target, people are probably going to leave you alone. Your boss is probably not going to be bugging you about your activity. It's usually only when this number is not being hit that we start worrying about this. So when we break down the activity that recruiters are measured against, it's a few different things. So we want to kind of work the funnel backwards, right? And so I'll draw you a picture. So the metrics activity can look a little something like this. I hope I made enough boxes. So you have your initial outreach. So this is me spamming the world. Hi, I have a Java developer job. Who wants a job? Not really, I don't do that. But some recruiters do, and we don't like it, but I'm gonna tell you why they do it. So it starts with outreach, right? So I'm gonna go reach out to 100 people and send a bunch of messages about this particular role. And I might get, if I'm lucky, maybe 30 of those get back to me. And out of that 30 that responds to me, I go ahead and get on a call with them and talk to them. And maybe 15 of them get submitted. Okay, so out of this 100 people that I tried to talk to, I might get 15 that are interested, available, willing to talk to me, hopefully in our compensation range, all that kind of stuff that happens. And I'm going to go ahead and submit them to my hiring manager. Okay, out of those 15 submittals, maybe only 7 of them move to an interview. Let's say a phone screen. A lot of companies will do a phone screen first, and if they like the phone screen, then they're going to invite you into an on-site interview. Okay, so now let's say out of those 7 phone screens, I'm obviously making up numbers here, but I don't think I'm too far off for a lot of people. Out of those 7 phone screens, let's say 3 of them get invited to an on-site interview. Okay, so these 2 areas here are happening here, this interview bucket. And then finally, out of those 3 interviews, maybe I'm going to make an offer. Just one offer. Okay? Funnel metrics. Very, very important. Every recruiter should know their numbers. I would recommend the same thing for job seekers, okay? If you are not tracking this information, I think you should. I really do. I think as much as I hate the phrase that recruiting is a numbers game, I'm not a total idiot. I am sometimes a partial idiot, but I'm not a total idiot. And I do understand that the only way to know what's working and not working is to track my funnel metrics, to understand how many of these individual activities does it take to get to my end result. So if I need to fill 2 positions every month, and I know that this is the activity that's getting me 1, I basically have to double it, right? So here's the interesting thing. What a lot of recruiters forget is that you can do a highly targeted 15 messages, okay? And I can be very intentional with the people that I'm going after, starting with my applicant bucket, starting with people who've expressed interest, starting with referrals, starting with people who actually have a really good chance of being interested and available. And maybe that nets me 9 subs. Okay, because there's always going to be this role isn't exactly right for you, or maybe I've got a different position that's a better fit, or maybe you don't want to relocate, and that's just, even in COVID, we still are going to ask you to come into the office for some reason. Like maybe you're a hardware engineer. Hello, that's my current life. But I can do this very targeted outreach, still get a good solid 9 candidates in process. If I know what I'm looking for and I'm doing my due diligence with my hiring manager, I'm still going to get my 7 phone screens potentially. I'm still probably going to get 3, maybe even 4 on sites. And then you know what's probably going to happen? I'm probably going to be able to offer 2 of them. Because the less time I'm spending up here, the more time I'm down here prepping, talking with you, giving you a very highly personalized experience, hopefully, that's going to help you as a job seeker perform better down here, which gives me a better chance of making you an offer. So these are obviously 2 extremes, we could say. You know, on the one end, you've got the high volume, like just spam everybody and their brother. And then here you have this very specific targeted approach, which takes longer. Okay, I will be the first to admit that. And so if you are a recruiter who is under pressure to fill these numbers, this feels impossible. And I get it. My advice to you is stay tuned, because we've got more to talk about on this topic. But for my job seeking community, I want to wrap this up now, so we're really obviously over time, as we always are. But for my job seeking community, think about your own funnel. Think about the output that you're putting in here and what that is translating to at every step of the process. Okay? Recruiting can be a numbers game, but that does not mean it is not still intensely personal. You can track your activity, you can track what's working and not working, you can track your metrics at every step of the process, whether you're a recruiter or a job seeker, and you don't have to sacrifice quality. I promise you, okay? Questions, complaints, comments, drop a comment down below. You know I love reading every single one, even the ones that don't agree with me. So with that, my friends, I hope you got some value out of this week, and we will see you next week.